old piece of junk with a newly painted engine, and a new piece of junk with an old engine. This is the yard sale Ariens I was talking about. I bought it for $25 a couple of years ago, if you remember the video. It was buried in the garage ever since then, and when I was cleaning out the garage within the past month, I dug it out so I could take that newly painted engine and place it on this chassis. This engine does run, but it leaks gas. I could fix the carburetor, but I like that engine better, so that's why I'm taking that engine and putting it on this machine. And before I swap the engines, I want to put a brand new drive belt on the machine. There's only one single drive belt. And I have the belt right here. I bought it off of eBay. It's an aftermarket one, Oregon 75-098. Replaces Ariens part number 72047. And yes, I want to replace that belt on this machine because I don't know what kind of condition that belt is in. It's better to be safe than sorry. And the first thing I got to do is make sure the tension is off the belt, which it is, and make sure that the auger attachment clutch is off, which it is. And the next thing I got to do is remove the belly pan bolts and belly pan. What I do to remove the belly pans off these machines is I tilt the machine upwards so the handlebars are leaning up against a building or a steady object, or in this case the garage door jamb. And the belly pan is secured with these two screws right here, or sometimes they're bolts. A lot of times these screws have been replaced on these machines. And I didn't need to use a screwdriver for this because the screws were already loosened. And I'll put those down, and I'll set the camera down so you can see me. Grasp it lightly like this off the top. And there's the belly pan. Ooh, there's a lot of leaves in there I gotta clean out. Next step is to remove the chute, the discharge chute. As you see here, the machine has been tilted back down on the ground now. It's no longer leaning up against the garage door jamb. The next thing I got to do is remove the discharge chute. The reason being is in order to change the drive belt, I got to separate the auger half from the rear half. And this chute is part of the auger half, and this chute crank gear is part of the rear half. So I got to take the chute off to separate the two ends, the front auger half and the rear half. And in order to do that, I'm going to use a socket wrench with a 3/8 inch drive socket, or a 3/8 inch socket, and take these bolts off. Not that hard of a job, really. Just loosen them. This one a little bit more. Put these aside. Keep them aside. And the chute is held on the machine by these little flat dogs with threaded studs sticking out. This is what the bolts bolt onto. And don't lose these. Take the nuts and put them on the dogs so you won't lose them. Whatever. And there's two more sets of dogs. There's one dog right here and one dog right there. They're like two nuts in a pair. So make sure you don't lose the nuts or the dogs. As you see here, I got my mounting dogs for the chute and the chute, which is now removed. Now it's time to remove the belt cover. It's usually attached with this wing nut shaft here, shafted wing nut. Just remove it and set it aside, and as you see here, this is what it looks like. And the next thing I got to do is remove these bolts here to separate the two halves. I'm going to use a 9/16 inch socket with a 3/8 inch ratchet, and there's two bolts. There's one bolt right there, and there's one bolt right there. So I'm going to remove those. I'll set the camera down. This is too hard. Someplace. Try it again. Yeah, it's too hard. Take your socket wrench. Loosen them up and remove them. And as you see here, I could see the rear end separating from the front end. Set the bolts aside and washers. Bingo! Here's the front auger assembly, and there's the rear assembly. Now I got to change the belt.